Our final speaker is David Shumaker, who is the Director of Applied Innovation for the United States Transhumanist Party. He is a regular participant in our weekly virtual enlightenment salons. The next one will be tomorrow, Sunday, June 21st at 1 p.m. US Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Central European Time. But today, David will be discussing the practical applications of innovation and transhumanism. So welcome, David. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Gennady. I appreciate the introduction and always appreciate an opportunity to speak. I have some slides today. Let me see if I can get them up there. So today, while we're getting that sorted out, transhumanism, as Gennady pointed out, is a major element of where I spend a good deal of my time. Today we'll be discussing a specific issue of applying new ideas, making humanity better. That's what I've entitled this. So as I said, applying new ideas, making humanity better. I'm coming at this from the viewpoint of transhumanism, which some of you may be familiar with and others not. Here's a link at the bottom of this great picture of me that goes to my particular page at the Transhumanist Party. So you can get a bit of an idea of what I'm coming from just by going to that. Now, on top of being in the Transhumanist Party, though, I do other things. I sell technological products, a few of them online. And then maybe more adaptive to today's conversation is I have another business where I coach, tutor, and train people in technology. So this is the viewpoint that I'm coming from. Part of tying all these things together is a Facebook page that I have that's definitely from the transhumanist point of view, definitely towards applied innovations, applying innovations. There's a link for that. By the way, I'll put all these links in the chat at the end so you don't have to screenshot or write them down as we go. And then one maybe last plug for the Transhumanist Party. I would encourage anybody that wants to know more about what this thing transhumanism is to go out to our page, take a look, read for yourself, read what our values are, and see if that's compatible with what you have going on. Once again, this link will also be in the chat at the end. Now to today's talk. This has been talked about by a number of different speakers. The current situation that we find ourselves in, no matter what country in the world we're in, I believe these things apply. All our societies are under pressure from a variety of things, and all those pressures have an impact on us. COVID-19, probably one that's getting much of the press in the world. Social unrest, something that's going on everywhere, and we definitely have our aspect of that going on here in the United States, which is exacerbated by a political divide that we have here that makes conversations very difficult. I bring that up because I think what I'm going to propose to you today helps overcome some of these things, particularly the political divide, and also helps us, whether from a corporate, countrywide level or down to the very personal level, economic distress. And that can come in a lot of different varieties as well. Distress doesn't have to necessarily mean total bankruptcy or something of that nature. It can be, I'm not earning as much money this year as I did last year. Economic distress can take on a number of different ways. So there's some of the things, not a complete list of what was wrong. Let's now talk about how we can make things better. That's my viewpoint, no matter how I'm addressing these things. So we can do a couple of things. Once again, this list could be greater, but these are the two that I want to talk about today. We can influence society around us. I choose to try to influence the governments that I'm in. And in the United States, we have multiple levels of government. So I have state government that I try to work with. We have national governments, and then there are coalitions. I try to work with those. But I also have to go back and look at myself, as so many of the speakers have talked about today, taking that personal responsibility. So which to do? And I think both are equally important, and not only equally important, but I think one drives the other back and forth. That'll be a part of what we'll be talking about. So how to influence government? Once again, lots of different ways that we can go about that. I've got 15 minutes, so we're going to narrow this down. We've seen that demonstrations are a thing going on in the world, that done in a peaceful, thoughtful way, I think is beautiful and certainly has influence on governments. Supporting political candidates is another great way to do that, and that's one thing that I certainly do. But today I want to propose that we don't consider them for the next few minutes, that we look at something that I call a foundational change. So changing the system as we go. And I have an example. As you see on the screen, the example that I've put up here has to do with something called e-voting, electronic voting, or i-voting. It's something that I'm very interested in. Once again, this is not the only foundational change that you could participate in. I would say that for me, the reason that I want to do this change are in some of the bullet points that are listed there. Participation in the electoral process in the United States is not at the level that I would like to see it be. Countries that have, and one country in particular that I'll be using as an example, has shown that this facilitates increased. It can also lead to greater public confidence in a particular area, in this particular case, voting. It brings along additional national benefits, and it brings along some additional individual benefits. So the example that I want to use is a country called Estonia, which was part of the Soviet Union until not too long ago. Estonia, back in 2005, implemented national online voting. First country in the world to do such a thing. What did they get from it? Small country, limitation on resources that we have everywhere, but maybe even more so in their particular case. They found that it reduced human effort. Cost savings was a critical issue. But look at voter participation. Certainly not 100%. And this voter participation has continued to rise as time has gone on. I would invite you to compare voter participation. You can go to their particular, you can go to a particular site up here and watch a YouTube video listed underneath the title, which is very short, about 15 minutes, but does a very nice job describing what went on in Estonia. So we can see that from 2015 to 2020, they're moving in the right direction as far as voter participation is concerned. They've had their problems as well. Nothing is problem-free. 2007, what's believed to be another country launched a cyber attack during on their electronic services. I think what Estonia did was brilliant and is a good model, and shows that a focus can, by the country, of being transparent. They came out and said, here's what happened. They went through and they outlined what they could do to improve this. And polls of citizens after this fact have said that the cyber attack did not decrease the response, and the individual response of people actually made that better. Part of the things that they've done to make this better is in 2008, Estonia added blockchain technology to make this much more secure. If you're not aware of blockchain technology, it's a distributed ledger. That means that for any transaction to be valid, a number of different places have to all agree before this can be added. And then there's a public record of what the decision was. So I think this also goes to not only improve security, but improved transparency. So what are some of the benefits? I thought of doing two slides, one national and individual, and decided that I'd put just a few of them because I think, once again, they're not isolated from each other. Estonia has gone from a country that was basically didn't have any computers to speak of when they left the Soviet Union. They have since been recognized around the world as a technologically advanced society because not only have they done electronic voting or I-voting as they call it, but they've added a lot of other government services online. The country was motivated to increase broadband capability throughout the country to be able to support this. That had a snowball effect as well, too, by raising the level of awareness to their own citizens, but then also being able, having that infrastructure to be able to go through and to be able to put more things online. So, including influencing digital banking and healthcare, which was in no way available to them before. But what about from an individual point of view? What can you do about it? Well, one of the things that you can do is identify a technology, like the example that I had, or another. And then as you identify with it, look for ways that you can bring about positive change for everyone involved. Connect with other individuals and groups that are interested in the same sort of thing that you are. And as we've heard from other speakers today, watch for the opportunities that arise. By getting behind something new like this, these opportunities will be there. And then don't hoard them. Share those opportunities with as many other people as you can, because once again, that tends to drive progress forward. Build value for yourself, build value for the population at large. And if you're a business owner, take advantage of this and use this to build value for your customers. In the end, what we're trying to do here, what we want to do here is make humanity better. Because as you make humanity better, you make your society better. It opens up these opportunities to make you better. So I'm a big proponent of applying new ideas, because in applying these new ideas, we can make humanity better. And yes, we can also benefit from those ourselves. Now, if you're interested in reading further about this in particular, or just the general ideas, these are some of the reading sources that I have used, including one video source here as well that's open to anybody that would like to see it. So at this point, I will turn off my screen sharing, and I am available for any questions as long as my voice holds out. I apologize for that.
Well, thank you, David, for this excellent presentation. It's a presentation that addresses both the global level in terms of current events and developments, as well as the individual level, and what people can do to apply innovation in their lives and influence these global dynamics. So now indeed, the floor is open for questions. Once again, you can type them in the chat, you can unmute yourself and speak, or you can raise your hand within the Zoom interface, and we'll give people a few moments to be able to ask any questions that they have, questions about David's presentation. Joshua, go ahead.
I thank you, David, for your presentation. So when you were speaking, so I quickly went to your website to read about your website. And the website says, the U.S. Transhumanist Party putting science, health, and technology at the forefront of American politics, right?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Now, so my thinking is that for the US, because I think I have been following quite closely the US politics for the past 10 years, since 2008, at least closely from my home in Nigeria, and I have been there quite sometimes to visit. And I find it a bit curious that we are trying to emphasize STEM. So everywhere, STEM, 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 STEM. However, some of us are advocating that we have to see how to also emphasize MESH. MESH is MESH. So it's called media, sociology, ethics, and the history and stuff. So we think that in the US, okay, for example, so the media clearly has issues in the US, so they become so politicized. They are no more being journalists, but they're all being activists for their own various interests. We have the issue of ethics going down in many things, also, and also as well to history. So you get to meet or speak with many people who don't know the history. And also, so these past 2 or 3 weeks have shown to prove even the fact that many people lack the history of things. So, so regards to STEM, I think already the US is already doing quite well in terms of science and technology. In short, for many years, and during the whole presidential debates, they always talking about the healthcare, trying to explore to go to Mars. And so I think a bit of science, the US is doing quite well in these particular areas. So my issue is, what do you think about MESH, and to see, so what role does it play in American politics?
Yes, thank you. I think that's very interesting, and it's something that I think about as well. And but let me just say a couple of things first. I wanted to draw a distinction between America's accomplishments in science and how science plays in the political process in the United States. I'm a devotee of certain arts as well. And I think that while I find that to be very, very useful, the fact that is in American politics, my understanding, the way I look at it, is science is clearly underrepresented. Now we have wonderful accomplishments. We just took and put 2 astronauts in an American private enterprise space capsule, launched them from a private enterprise rocket, and sent them to the International Space Station. Somehow there's a disconnect being able to do those type of things and being able to put science specifically into a rational discussion in the political process. Too many times, critical thinking is not involved by many in the political electorate, and they will weigh things that may be pseudoscience on with the same value that they would weigh science. So this is one of my side crusades on critical thinking. But from my work with the Transhumanist Party, putting science, health, and technology first is quite a valid issue because of that underrepresentation of that in the political process. Now, going back to the social process, I absolutely love what you talk about with MESH because we need well-rounded individuals. If you look back in history, by the way, history is one of my passions also. If you were to look at my college transcript, I have way too many history credits for an engineering major, but that's okay. But the nice thing about history is I realized that many of the greatest thinkers were also quite accomplished in the arts as well. And I don't think that's any accident. I think those two things go together. So I'm fully aligned with you as far as saying that that needs to be promoted in broader society. But coming back to politics, which is what the Transhumanist Party is about, we need to get science, health, and technology in this rational discussion.
Yes, indeed. An excellent answer, David. As the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party, I wholly agree. So,
thank you, Gennady.
Thank you. Any more questions for David Shumaker? And I will also add that anybody wishing to follow the activities of the Transhumanist Party is welcome to go to the website transhumanist-party.org, which David just provided in the Zoom chat. Also, I would encourage everyone to look at the resources that he just posted. There's a wealth of information here. And I'll add one comment about American politics right now. And actually, this is somewhat fitting. So, Malik, you talked about being an ethical lawyer and only taking on cases that you agree with and that you would be able to support out of your principled conviction. In America, the unfortunate reality is most lawyers don't operate that way. And also, the unfortunate reality is about 40% of political posts are occupied by lawyers who are perhaps more cynical or more focused on, let's say, improving their livelihoods by perpetuating controversies instead of resolving them.
Sorry, Kennedy, I'm going to clear something out. Here in UAE, because I'm not a UAE citizen, I cannot practice as a lawyer. I'm a senior legal advisor. So it's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, I practice, and it's me who writes the memos, and I don't do litigation only. So it's to clear out. I had a question. Sorry, I cut you off. So if you could allow me when you finish to ask David.
Oh, yes, yes, certainly. The only remaining observation that I had is if we were to have more people with a scientific background and scientific training involved in the political system, that could lead to improved outcomes. And we would also have lawyers, we would also have people with backgrounds in the humanities. There's no reason why people of any profession shouldn't be involved in politics, but having that scientific perspective would definitely add value and create possibilities for improvement that are scarce in the United States. So with that, Malik, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Trinity, but I wanted to clear while you were talking. Going back to the ethics and politics and everything, it's very important to bring values and bring scientific and ethical values into politics, which is I go and remember always the letter to the prince from Machiavelli and how politics they are, and actually the politics is based now in the politics that we see now. It's based on the letters. I mean the prince and Machiavelli idea of politics and how a politician need to be unethical in order to rule. So this is the idea that with the transhumanism party, that you bring the science and you bring also the ethics, which is very, very important into let's say, the future of politics and how things needs to be done. Yeah, it's a very good point that we can also explain to people that the transhumanism is all about ethics. It is all about, let's say, I say engineering people. I mean let's say it's a change in a little bit the minds that all these what we have, the behavior, that it's the greed, if transhumanism can change our nature to be a better species, of course it's the best thing that we can do for our evolution. So that was that have been said. I would like to ask David. Hi, nice to meet you. It's the first time we talk together. I've been seeing you on social media. I just wanted to ask you, I am a member and I'm not in the United States, and I appreciate that because it's the only political party that allowed non-US citizen or non-residents at least to participate and be members. I would like to ask you, like for me as a member, and I'm here in outside of the UAE, I'm between outside of US, I'm between UAE and Europe and Tunisia and Africa and everywhere. You will see me after it's finished. I will be traveling everywhere. So how can we bring transhumanism and let's say in in law we say cross-fertilize the law with other culture. How can we do that with the transhumanism as a movement, as ideology, as the future? Actually, sometimes I say movement, but actually it's not a movement anymore. It's the reality, and we have to do it, and we have to go and make it. So how can we do it from our side, from here, and how can we have your support and spread this ideology and get people to understand that it's all about ethics? Because they are fearing machines, they fearing hacking and all this. So we need to make or pass the message that it's going to be done anyway. The machine is going to take over anyway. So we are there to prepare ourselves and to go with the ethical part and values and to spread this noble cause that it's behind the transhumanism. So can you tell me how we can do it from here?
Yeah, thank you, Malik. And before I get started, very nice to meet you as well. Ethics is a big part, I believe, of rational discourse, which the Transhumanist Party is very much in favor of, as you already know. And I think when we take the rational discourse and we do this on a person-to-person basis, so we get out and we speak with people that are not transhumanists, we can bring the human side that they may not be aware of. They may see, as you pointed out, they may see pictures of machines, they may read about machines taking their jobs, they may read about many different things. But I think it really comes down to the person-to-person, people-to-people touch. And that's not just inside the United States. I do that here inside my home state of Arizona, and I do that on a broader scale. Honestly, anybody that wants to hear about it. And they can see the personal side of me, and then I can talk to them about maybe some of their fears, and that invariably goes to a discussion of ethics as we go about doing that. So what can you do from where you're at and with all the movement that you're going on? And I would suggest the same. I would suggest letting people get to know you, tell them about transhumanism from your particular point of view. By the way, for those that are not aware, transhumanism is a very broad topic. It supports multiple political points of view, different ideologies, but we do have core values. And let them see that from your particular point of view. And then talk to them about, we heard a talk earlier today on foresight, what's coming. And give them your unique point of view as far as what you see is coming and possible solutions. And a talk in this rational yet human side of things, I think, tends to take a lot of the media hype that's out. People may only be seeing Terminator movies and things of that nature. They may not be seeing other things that are available to us. So wherever we're at, inside the United States, any one of the 50 states, outside the world as we travel. I was in New Zealand for 3 weeks earlier this year and had wonderful conversations about transhumanism there, not only with family and friends, but there is a political party in New Zealand that does not identify as transhumanist, but I saw some of the values overlapping. So I arranged for a meeting with one of the chief political figures so that we could talk and hear each other. And now we're discussing things back and forth over the internet concerning the politics in New Zealand and what he's involved with, and the politics that I'm involved with here in the United States, and the things that we can do in dissimilar systems to support each other. So I hope some of that addresses some of the things that you were asking.
Sure, you did. I just unmuted myself because I have the airplanes button. Okay, I'm living. I'm leaving. I mean, my house is. I have the airplanes all the time. So yes, you did. Thank you so much. And yes, it makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this was an excellent conversation. Thank you again to David Shumaker for his presentation. And thank you to Joshua and Malik for your great questions. And now I want to conclude with a few remarks. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this webinar, Osunakachi Akuma Kalu. You can learn more about him by going to his website. That's osunakachi.com. And Osunakachi is a person of many achievements. He is a strategic planner, a team builder, a visionary, an inspirational speaker, and a humanitarian who has exceptional skills as an administrator, philosopher, and theorist and fearologist. And some of his affiliations are that he's a member of the World Fearlessness Movement. He is the founder of the Penn Lords, member of the Lifeboat Foundation, a member of the United States Transhumanist Party, quite a valued member there. He presides as the founder of TAFFDS, the Transdisciplinary Agora for Future Discussions, and he also serves as the chairman of the WAMS Council for the Youth Development of Nigeria, and he is an honorary Academy Fellow of the World Academy of Medical Sciences. His motto is "Life is the chief value," and I think that was very apparent in today's webinar, where all of the speakers essentially provided insights about how one can improve one's life, how one can improve one's understanding of the world and the context in which one lives, and find a purpose, find some actionable steps that one could take toward improving oneself and improving the world. And a lot of the speakers talked about leadership and attributes of a good leader, as well as resilience and how to get through difficult times, and critical thinking, independent thinking, searching for answers in a complex world, but doing so in a determined way, a systematic way, and a principled way. A lot of the speakers focused on ethics and what does it mean to behave in an ethical manner. How does one relate to other people in ways that are constructive and productive? And the vision that Osunakachi Akuma Kalu outlines is giving life a better meaning. So that is what all of these conversations were about. And I want to say also, for those of you who participated in this webinar, send an email to info@osunakachi.com, and you will receive a copy of Dr. Kalu's new book, Success Mantra: Decoding Philosophy to a Purposeful Life, that is going to delve into a lot of these ideas to a greater extent. So this webinar hopefully will be the beginning of our explorations of these subjects, and we will continue exploring them for many years and decades to come. And if the U.S. Transhumanist Party has its way, we'll continue exploring them indefinitely, because that is what we stand for: indefinite longevity, indefinite prosperity, abundance for all, a better life for all. So thank you very much to all of you who attended. This was quite an enjoyable session, and I hope that we all learned plenty that we can apply in our own lives.